I'm Local 3's Rebecca Bartelme, and sit back as we learn about the magic behind the cap.
Ironwood, Michigan. Home to a company built on history, hardworking Yoopers, and community to provide the iconic clothing we're proud to call UP Made. This is Stormy Kromer, a common thread.
Actually, the real beginning was me wearing a hat as a kid. I mean, that's where the Stormy Kromer story starts for me, is wearing a hat and owning a hat and watching everybody in the community own and wear a hat, and how much they respected and revered him, how much I respected people that wore a hat.
Now, before we get into the factory in Ironwood, we first got to learn about who Stormy Kromer was.
A quirky man. We know his personality is based on a stormy personality, not making a winter hat. We learned that about 4 years into it. So he was this quirky guy that passionately loved baseball. Best I can tell, he would want to be remembered as a baseball player, not a hat company owner. He loved baseball, but he needed a job. He was an amateur baseball player. The way we understand it is he asked his wife's father 3 times if he could marry him, because the first 2 times he was an amateur baseball player. And so his future father-in-law said, "You need a job before you marry my daughter." And so he reluctantly found a job with the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. What George found out back when he was working at the railroad yard was there wasn't a hat in 1903 that visored your eyes and covered your ears. And the way we understand it is he and his wife figured out how to put ear flaps on a baseball hat. And it was simple as that. It wasn't lined, it was just a baseball hat that could shade the sun when he was working and keep his ears warm. And we understand that somebody asked him, "Where'd you get the hat from?" His wife made a couple more, and then a couple more, and then kind of blurs into the hat company starting. But over the years, the business started in Kaukauna, Wisconsin, which is about 20 miles south of Green Bay. In the 30s, it moved to Milwaukee. It was in the inner city of Milwaukee. And then in the late 60s, when inner cities were having some problems, they moved the factory from the inner city of Milwaukee to a town called Columbus, Wisconsin, which is like 70 miles outside of Milwaukee. And as that followed, George and Ida owned the business from 1903 to 1964, so they owned it for 61 years. And they sold it to the guy in the middle of our family owning it. His name was Dick Grossman. So George passed it on to Dick Grossman, and then they had it throughout the years until 2001. They decided to focus more on another hat that the Kromer Cap Company made, their welding cap, and so they basically discontinued this hat. And on June 1st of 2001, corporate Stormy Kromer, or the Kromer Cap Company, made a decision to discontinue making this hat. So if you just pause right there for a second, there are 2 businesses up in Ironwood that had something to do with what happened. So there was a company called Jacquard Fabric Products, which is our last names and Gina's maiden name. And we were a contract sewer, and still are a contract sewer, making things for other people. And we basically took a very craftsmanship mentality and found a bunch of people that loved to sew and loved to make things out of fabric and just made all kinds of different things. So we were in that position to do this, but we had never made a piece of clothing other than some polar fleece hats for a company in Wisconsin in the early 90s. Basically, a block away from here was the Kromer dealer, and that sold the Kromer hats. And there were very few outdoor stores like the Hobby Wheel and Abelman's in Bessemer and Getz's in Marquette. There were very few of those, but most of them had a unique identity by carrying this cap. People came to the UP and they bought a hat and a pasty. I mean, that was what Ironwood was for. And so Mark called in an order to fill up his store for the summer, so they sold hats in the summer. So they stocked up in the summer, and we still have many, many dealers that fill their stores up in the summer to sell to the tourists. And they told him they weren't making hats anymore. And he was kind of upset because that one unique identifier to his store was gone or was going away. And by chance, we were in a restaurant, in the same restaurant, a couple hours later, and he came up to me and he said, "They quit making Kromer caps," and he put his finger in my face and he said, "You better do something about it." Now, we didn't know each other that well. We knew each other to say, "Hi, Bob," "Hi, Mark." But we didn't quite know each other, but he knew I sewed, and he really didn't know I did anything. I think it was almost a joke. And in a joke manner back, I said, "Get me the number and I'll buy the dang company." And I assumed the business went out of business. I had no idea that that's what happened. So that afternoon, I came back to my office, and there's a little piece of paper with his business name on it, and it says Kromer Cap Company and the phone number. So I called the Kromer Cap Company, and the man said, "You will never make anything of this. That's why we discontinue it." And the problem is, you are sitting in the epicenter of where this hat is sold. Our 4 biggest dealers are Ironwood, Michigan, Bessemer, Michigan, Marquette, Michigan, and Rhinelander, Wisconsin. And you'll never sell outside of that area. And I did it anyway. When I first started in business in the 70s, being a Youper wasn't as nice as it is now, because back then we didn't have running water, and we didn't speak the Queen's English, and we didn't have all our teeth and all that hillbilly stuff. And all my life I've been kind of defiant against that. No, we are from the UP, and we can be proud, and we can look good, and we can do world-class stuff, and we can compete and arm wrestle with the world. And the branding of the Kromer Cap Company that I bought this hat for was kind of poor, and I just didn't like it. Didn't look as good as I think we look now. So I had that in the back of my head. But then the significant game changer was Mrs. Kangas, who was our 4-H program leader in town, and her husband was the shop teacher. And she came up to me downtown Ironwood and said, "Are Kromer caps really made in my hometown?" And she said it with all this pride. I remember feeling all warm and fuzzy and saying, not because when you make stuff for other companies, nobody really knows what you're doing, and there's no, we're not selling them in the community or anything like that. And I said, "Yeah, we're making them." And I remember feeling, and she said, "I need to show you something." So she reaches in her purse and she hands me a photo. I'm looking at a pet grave marker, a photo of a pet grave marker. So somebody made a cross, and somebody stuck it in the ground, and somebody took a picture of it. And I can remember this grave marker, this cross being in a field, not in her backyard. It was in a field. And I'm about to give her the picture back, and she says to me, "That's the grave marker where my husband Dave's Kromer cap is buried on Isle Royal." And I go, "What?" And she says, "Yes, he had a charter business, a fishing charter business, and his favorite place to fish was off of a point on Isle Royal. And after he died, his fishing buddies got permission from the U.S. Park Service to bury his hat. They bought an ashes urn. They didn't burn it. They just rolled the hat up and turned the ashes urn into a hat coffin." I'm coming back from that encounter with Mrs. Kangas thinking, I wonder if I missed something. I wonder if there's more to this that I'm just missing.
Whether you're blood related or not, it's also family made.
As a kid, even the business pre-Stormy Kromer is so in my DNA. Some of those, there's a lady on the sewing floor that we saw who, was at my high school graduation party because she's worked here for so long. And so there's a part of this business where you can't even separate family out. It's real blurry where the business starts and the family starts and all of that. I'm grateful every day that I get to work, not just with my dad, but with my younger sister. My uncle works here too. My husband worked here briefly when we first moved back. It's a whole thing, and it is an extension of the family.
That community pride expands far past the factory's location into the heart of Ironwood.
Stormy Kromer is a definitive brand of Ironwood. It has been with us for so long. To the point where back into the mining days and early on in the railroad industry, Stormy Kromer was just the attire that people wore. And so it's stuck with our community for so long. And so having it made here in Ironwood and being part of our community, being part of our downtown is really, really important.
So we're in downtown Ironwood right now, where there is a store that's completely dedicated to Stormy Kromer gear, and the man behind that is Rob. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Sure.
Yeah, so just tell me a little bit about what this store is all about.
Well, basically, we're just trying to give Stormy Kromer a downtown presence here in Ironwood. It's our hometown brand, and so they are featured over at the factory, but we also wanted to have a storefront in the downtown area that would present the brand to people that may not get exposed to it. My wife and I purchased this building about a year ago, and we're really struggling with what to do with this space. This space hadn't been used for 20 plus years, and we were really thinking about what would be good for the space, what would be good for the downtown, this street, and also, kind of thinking about, something that would be a good business that I could do here, and it all kind of pointed to Stormy. So I went to Gina at Stormy and kind of presented the idea, and it just worked out really, really well to bring the brand here and to be able to have this shop available to people. It's been really well received. It's nice because we do have a lot of like walk-in traffic and things, and it brings something to the downtown. As people are wandering around, it gives them a destination. It's been really, really well received, and a lot of people that have loved the brand for so many years, and their parents and all the stories, they come in and they're just excited to see things growing and expanding. So it's been really nice to hear.
Because really the downtown businesses are the core of our local economy, and to be able to have people come through the downtown, visit the shop, visit other stores, restaurants, the art studio, the theater, all those things really go together. And then the Stormy Kromer is also sort of the heart of our industrial park too. That it goes beyond just tourism, but people who come here and say, hey, maybe Ironwood's a place that I can open a business. So they come through town, they visit Stormy Kromer, they see our industrial park, they see our downtown. It really is a great marketing and advertisement opportunity for the city of Ironwood.
I have a set of core values here at the company, and we were really careful and specific that one of them is actually world-class quality. That a deep, deep value we have is that, yes, we can produce garments that will stand up to anyone else's in the world, and we can do that in the Western UP, and we do that every day. So we take that quality really seriously, and that's regardless of geography, right? Like world-class quality, period. And I think the other thing that's really funny, and my dad tells this story a lot, so I'm going to steal it from him, but we were a sewing factory before Stormy Kromer, right? We knew how to put things together with needle and thread and fabric. There are other sewing factories all over the country. Some sewing factory in California could have bought Stormy Kromer, but it wouldn't, I don't think it would have worked. Like, the place is really important to the brand Stormy Kromer, and it's not just the climate. Obviously that's a big part of it. We can field test our products all winter long, right? But it's also like the sisu, the spirit here, the problem solving, the dang it, yes, it is really hard to make apparel in America, but we're gonna do it even though it is hard, and it's hard, and that makes it awesome, right? And there is some of that attitude that I think we have as Ubers, right? Being kind of stubborn, being kind of like determined to see things through, that has made contributed to the brand being successful and being important. And just like, Maine is important to LL Bean and Pennsylvania was important to Woolrich, the UP and Ironwood specifically are central to Stormy Kromer. Like, it is a huge piece of who we are and our whole identity. And I can't imagine, what it would be like if we weren't based in the UP.
This is kind of your baby here that's behind us. So what exactly do you do here at Stormy Kromer?
I am the work lead right now for the outerwear line. We do all the outerwear for Stormy Kromer, the coats, the vests, men's and women's, and I'm also part of the R&D where I help design this.
All right, should we check out what they're doing?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go.
So the first two ladies up here are working on our Mackinac coats. Luann here is starting. She is making the collars for the coat. It's a 3-piece. And then after she's done doing that, she will be making the cuffs for it. Deb is joining our back pieces, and this is where our Stormy Kromer embroidery is on the back of the coat, and she joins the two pieces and then puts the two needling on it. This is our new product. It's a women's parka. It's all lined. Right here, Rachel is making our sleeves. And it's a two-piece sleeve. They're joined together in top stitch, and then she's also joining the two back pieces in top stitching. Barb over here is doing one of our more difficult parts of attaching the pockets to the front.
You've been here for a while, right?
23 years.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
wow. And so, you know, how did you start at Stormy? What's made you stay this long?
I really enjoyed sewing. I actually started in this plant with another company when I was 20, and I just really enjoyed it. I liked the downtime, I liked the hours, I had my weekends off. I mainly came here, I wanted health insurance. It's a family-oriented business. They're very understanding. I always enjoyed that, but I just really enjoyed sewing and learning new things and challenging myself. So, and I started in the retail store over there back when it was the upholstery and that, and I helped answer phones. I was sewing stuff for Foster & Smith with the cat house, and then I got into the upholstery department. I've worked every department in here. I've worked.
So you know this place backwards,
Yes.
forwards, all
Yep,
over.
yep.
So now we're going to check out what makes the iconic Stormy Kromer cap. And this is Jody. And Jody, what do you exactly do here?
Well, I'm kind of like the lead up here. I direct the girls on what they should be doing, put the hat stuff together for them that they just grab and sew. Mary is starting off with our liner. She's putting the label, which has the story on it, where starts off the whole process. Dorothy here, she's doing 6-piece panel, and this is our normal original hat. She's on another one of the automatic machines, and what she's doing is she's putting the top stitching on the brim. So she pretty much loads the hat or the brim in and hits the button, and the machine does all the rest of the work.
Oh wow, yeah, I like that. That's fun.
Ellen here is putting on our brims. So she is taking the binding part and she's hitting it as close as she can get to the edge of this, as you can see it underneath, so that there's no gaps in between. Wendy is putting the last step together, and she's putting the ear band on.
Okay.
Mary goes through and she's checking every one of the hats to make sure everything is okay on them, and she ties every one of the hats.
Okay.
She'll take this sizer here and she'll make sure it sizes out to the size it's supposed to. She's got interchangeable heads.
After that, the next step for some apparel is monogramming.
So now we're kind of behind the scenes, and we are looking at things that are done with technology, and that's where you come in, Jeremy. And so what are we exactly doing back here? It's kind of like the creation before making the product, correct?
What I'm doing is I'm making a marker that goes out to our cutting department for the rancher hat that we make. At this stage, the patterns are already been made up. I've brought in the sizes and the quantity into the marker program, and it uses algorithms to get the best efficiency out of the material based off of the size that we're cutting and the quantities. So this will nest, it'll move the pieces around a little bit to get the best efficiency out of what we're cutting. So then after it runs for a while, then I'll stop it. And then at this point, I would either print it off and make a copy that will go out there, or I'll send it right to the machine for them to cut it. The different colors that are in here that you'll see are all based off of the sizing, because this is a whole different run of sizes. So it uses the different colors to distinguish between the different sizes. And then there's also 6 different panels on a Kromer, and each of those panels are different from each other. So with the colors, with the naming, and the identification, so that once it gets cut, goes through cutting, then it goes to sewing. There'll be a copy of the marker with it so that they know this is a left front, this is a right rear, this is for a 7/8, this is for a 7. So all of that labeling, because even though they're very good at what they do with sewing, it's very hard to tell the difference between left front, left rear, just by eyeballing it.
It's a labor of love, and that's how the apparel at Stormy Kromer is made. It's not just the Jacquart family that's presence is felt within this company. Other families make up Stormy Kromer, including a husband and wife duo, mother and son, and Gian Hutari and Jody Tion, a mother and daughter who both work on the hat line.
We also had my cousin and her niece working here too. There was 3 of us.
Luann still
Oh,
works here.
yes, she does have another cousin here.
I just applied and started out on sewing, and I'm not one for change. So I keep on going. And now it's just to keep me active. If I quit, I don't know what I would do. So I'll just work until I can't.
With Jody being the work leader for the hat line, she's her mother's boss.
Most days it's all right.
I can be a test.
She's not lying. But what she does, she's pretty much, you don't really have to help her unless there's actually something wrong with what she's sewing. It's automatic for her. As you've seen, as she was doing her, nobody is as fast as her as what she does.
And I enjoy what I'm doing. Sometimes she goes by and I say, "Hey, Jody," and she goes, no.
Oh, I'm at that stage of my life where I forget, and if I don't go what I'm doing, I go like this to a lot of people.
And at the end of the day, these ladies are proud of the work they do and the quality of the product they provide.
You have people like the Jacquarts to work for. You'll get to, do your own thing, and they're really good.
The ladies put their heart and souls in every step that they do. And it's important in the United States. The quality, I believe, is better because of the women that we have here.
Not only do I need to think of how my customer, like what they have in their closet, what they don't have in their closet, how are we meeting their needs when it comes to like warmth, protection, rain. And so I think a lot about the practical sides, but then I also need to see what's going on in the mass market. What are the colors that are popular? What styles are changing? Just like when jeans go from like skinny leg to wide leg. We're thinking about all the facets of how it's going to be used, and then how are we going to keep the integrity of the fabrics, the construction, the quality, and make sure the brand equity is like the same. Like we want to deliver that level of quality and aesthetics. Like we want you to know that you feel like I'm in a Kromer. I know exactly what I'm representing. When we're getting into product development, I'll design plaids. I'll talk to our mills that we're currently working with. We will work together on color palettes and say, what are we leaning into? Do we have enough tan? Do we have enough grays? That sort of thing.
Jamie came to us with a lot of experience in design with other big companies, other companies in the outdoor industry. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that's unique and really great about our situation, we'll have a lot of design meetings right in this room, and then across the parking lot is where the first prototype gets made, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's very hands-on, and it's very different than maybe some other instances where you might be a designer in an office and then you send drawings off to a factory that's not even in your same town, right? And then you might have to wait 6 weeks to get a sample back and give feedback and say, no, I want this a little different. We have that such real time here where we can, the same people who are cranking out a red, black plaid Stormy Kromer that's going to be sold this fall are also a part of making the prototypes for the next season. and we can get that feedback going so quickly, and we can also get their feedback on, hey, this was really hard to sew, I don't think this is gonna be great, right? Like, how about if we did it this different way?
We start our seasons 18 months out, which is similar to the fashion industry in general, but we actually have some luxuries in that because we're shorter timelines, and I can work on products. If we're like, you know, we should just add this colorway, we have this fabric, this is a really great design. I mean, it gives us a lot more flexibility. So for fall 24, this is one of the new colors for our original. This is white pine. And one thing that I've been really excited about lately is all these giant plaids. This is a really nice deep hunter green and heather gray and black.
It's called our Equinox cap. We have a men's, this is designed for women. We have a men's cap called the Midway, which is just an original. There's no insulation, but you do get this little bit longer ear flap. For some people, like depending on the size of your ears and how big your head is and where your ears are in your head, an original Kromer may not cover your full ear.
This is the double mac, and this is our 26-ounce Mackinaw wool, and this is a full cape. So this is a full body under here. There's a full cape in the back.
For women, we really have been also growing and leaning in on our women's apparel. And so we didn't have a nice long women's coat that also offers you the kind of winter protection that Jamie was talking about with the double Mackinaw. And so this is our brand new, it's called the Peninsula Parka. It comes in very traditional plaids. But we've also like mimicked the look of the pocket on this coat to our men's Mackinaw coat. So there is this connection between the different parts of our line and the heritage. The challenge from a business perspective to only really have revenue in one season of the year, and the typical clothing market has 2 seasons. So we've been trying, you know, over the years to develop products that make sense for Stormy Kromer in the spring and summer, that still have some functionality, that retain our DNA for the brand. And it's taken a lot of tries and a lot of trial and error, but I think we're finally coming to some hats that really feel just as Stormy Kromer in the summer, but also function well in that season.
With Kromer, Stormy Kromer, wool is obviously our #1 fabric, but waxed cotton is also something that's very iconic to us. Like we love waxed cotton, we love the look of waxed cotton, and I wanted to take that concept and say, how can we use that in our spring line? So we worked on developing a hat out of a wax ripstop. It's very lightweight. We put a moisture management liner in the trail cap, and we've seen some good successes with it, and I've gotten to do some fun color mixes. And really, as that program has grown, it's really opened up other opportunities. We're like, oh, we would like a fishing hat. Oh, that's great. Oh, we should do an adjustable version. We should do kids versions. One thing I'm actually really excited about for spring 2025 that's going to be coming out is a ball cap collection and some graphic programs, like t-shirts, and these bandanas are super cool, and our ball caps that really help communicate in this this way that if you feel like even the trail cap, I'm not going to go paddle boarding in it right now, I'm going to just wear this because what if it flies off my head or something like that. This ball cap program is so great because it's really communicating the brand. I think that this collection is growing in a way that we really are showing all of these different strengths. We're doing more brimmed hats, we're doing different versions, and it's starting to really represent Stormy Kromer in a way just like the winter program does, like where you could need that trapper hat and it's so cold. Well, you might need this forager because it's so light.
To just have Stormy Kromer be a year-round product line, we know that winter's always going to be the thing with us, right? But we hear from customers sometimes like, oh, I'm so sad I had to put my Stormy Kromer away for the winter and I'm not going to get to take it back out until October. Well, now we're giving people choices to not do that. And even for the retailers that we partner with, as a brand and as a business strategy, I want them to have Stormy Kromer on their sales floor all year round.
We come on motorcycles. Some high school friends of mine that can still get legs over a motorcycle go every year, and we try to stop here coming through Ironwood on our trip, because Stormy Kromer hats are great and they're great deals.
Well, we're heading to Minnesota from Ontonagon, so it's on the way, and we love Stormy Kromer products.
I shopped there yesterday for the first time at a store in Copper Harbor, and is that where we were, Copper Harbor?
Yeah, Copper Harbor.
And I tried one on, and I was so excited about it covering my ears and giving me a brim.
They have been great supporters of us. We did the grand opening for the Stormy Kromer on Aurora last fall, and they came and supported us, and they asked us to be here to help them today too. Stormy Kromer has been around for years, and they're such a great supporter of small business and the community in general, always giving back. We love that they include us and other small businesses in their events.
I'd like to see one with the cute flower or something maybe.
Yeah, we're looking for one for my wife with the flower over here, the same style.
I like the hat, I like the quality, I like the different varieties of the plaids. I don't probably have too many hats. I probably have 13, 14 of them already, but you can always have more.
It's made in the U.S. and it's here in Michigan. Love to support our great state and the quality.
Yeah, I love products that just last basically your whole life. You only have to buy one of whatever version you're looking for, and it just lasts forever.
Stormy Kromer fanatics are all across the country, and in Manistee, which is about 4 hours away from Ironwood, is home of Sean Peterson, who is quite a fan of the red, black, and plaid.
So this one I bought for my son the day he was born. This obsession with it has been probably early 2000s. I was talking to my wife about the hats because I remember my grandpa and uncles wearing them. They were loggers, and it was always, like I say, I grew up with seeing them. I was talking about them, and she got me one for Christmas, and then I just remembered how much I really love them and how much I like them myself, and started collecting. All three of these that are on the wall are his as he's grown. So
oh wow, yeah.
As he grows out of one,
so he can carry on the, the tradition.
And he is very much a up-and-coming Kromer fan. So he likes to match Dad.
Yeah.
So. Hats, I have 23 I'm at right now. I also have mittens that I love. I love the waxed mittens. Those are fantastic for snow blowing and things like that. Face coverings, lots of shirts, can koozies, a little bit of everything. So I actually have one that is it's the bench warmer. It's maroon and gold. Growing up, I was always a Washington Redskins fan, but I always loved Lambeau Field, so kind of a conflict of interest there. But I want to say probably 5-6 years ago, something like that, my cousin got us tickets to go see Washington play in Green Bay. And it was the first time I ever got to see that, so right away I went, oh, I gotta buy a Kromer to match, you know. And that one was fun because here I am at Lambeau Field surrounded by all these cheeseheads, and they're harassing me the whole game. I didn't even know Kromer made those colors. That's terrible. And but they were a lot of fun, and we just had a great time. But yeah, so that one has a good memory for me. I have one that it's actually with a bench warmer. It's a green and white. So I do the announcing and music for the Manistee varsity hockey team. So that one is always the one that I wear in the arena. And so, they all have some sort of meaning, some sort of reason. I love that they're made in the UP. I love that I know that they're handcrafted. I'm a baseball cap person anyway. I've never really enjoyed a chook. So in the winter especially, I get the comfort of a baseball cap, but warmth, So, but basically just, the quality of them.
Sean loves Stormy Kromer so much, he even has a permanent reminder of the brand to show off his Stormy Kromer pride.
So the tattoo is actually right here on my calf. It's just the traditional red plaid, and When I first saw the advertisement for the event, I just thought, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love Kromers, and the traditional red and black for me made me think of my grandpa and that kind of thing. So it had meaning for that. But yeah, I took the day off of work and went up to Marquette, and it was part of the Tats for Caps event that they had, and I waited in line for, I think it was like 4 hours to get my name on the list, and another 2 hours after that to finally get the tattoo. But I met a lot of really neat people, and it's just a really fun day. Upers know what it is, and they think it's interesting. I've had, the best one was one time I was helping my son with something at school, and his friends were like poking him and, hey, your dad has a hat on his leg. Yeah, they didn't know what the hat was or why. And
the love for Stormy Kromer has even paved the way for Sean into an exclusive club of fans just like him.
The Stormy Kromer Society, it's a private group. You have to like be invited or prove your value, your worth, I guess, for it. Gina's actually in the group, the CEO there, and she's very active in it, and it's great. And she'll send out ideas that they have coming up and let us give our opinions. I think it was last spring. I received a free hat just to test, to see what I thought of it. And they're looking for honest opinions, which I think is great. That they want the customer to say what they think, not just, oh, here's what market research says. No, we are the market. Let us voice our opinion. And I feel like she's really listening to it too. So I've met a few people through it, and yeah, we've had a lot of conversations, and compare different hats or what we like, our favorite hats are, styles, things like that. So.
And that passion goes far beyond apparel for Sean.
The culture, I think, I know it's definitely geared towards the outdoor enthusiast, and I'm not a big hunter, fisherman, that kind of thing, but I just enjoy embracing the UP, just hiking and stuff. But the hats realistically are so comfortable that they're part of my daily wear. They really are. And how can you not endorse something that's made in a small town in the UP, giving real jobs to people, and they back the product. That's what is amazing. With the warranty and everything, I just think that's amazing. You don't see that enough in today's society. Everything's so throwaway. Mm-hmm. And these aren't. These are something that are, they've been there through history, and the company's grown and it's changed. I love how it's evolving, and they're still backing that product. They're still believing in it. So that says something to me.
So we're back on the production floor, and right now, Gina, you're going to tell us about a different side of Stormy Kromer, and it's not exactly Stormy Kromer, but it's things you partner with, correct?
Yes. In fact, our company started as a contract sewing factory that then bought Stormy Kromer. So we have sewing expertise beyond what we make for Stormy Kromer, and we still have some of those contracts and do some of that work. It tends to be a lot more industrial. It's not apparel, it's different kinds of things. So some examples are we do partner with Boss Snowplow out of Iron Mountain, and we make covers for a number of their products. We make a series of tents for a company called Snow Checker Tents. They're based in Wisconsin, and they're made for camping in the winter, so that's a nice tie to Stormy Kromer. And the other thing you'll probably see today is some work we do for a company called Rainbow Play Systems. They make those big cedar swing sets you might have in the backyard, and they have a little awning on the top, and we make those awnings for them. So it's a real breadth of what we do, and some of the operations and machinery over here is a lot different than what is used to make a hat or a coat.
Excellent. And so we're going to be meeting with Josh, who's going to be telling us about all these different parts.
Yes, Josh is our production manager in this area, and he's the most knowledgeable one, so he's going to kind of show you some of the things we're working on today.
All right, let's check it out.
Great.
They're for a company called Snow Checker, which they're out of, what town in Wisconsin is it? Viroqua, Wisconsin.
Okay.
They're they are the best winter camping tent on the market, in my opinion. But this is Melissa. She's looks like she's sewing the roof to the tent right now.
Okay.
positions for up to 4 people sewing over here. Right now it's kind of their off season, but we anticipate that they're going to do a lot of business towards the end of summer. This is probably the biggest thing that we make in this building. The smallest is 8 by 10. It comes in 2 varieties, a crew and a short wall. And then it goes all the way up to 13 by 18 feet. Wow. Which is enormous. You know, like they say that a lot of them get used for like the lunch hall when you're out winter camping, like everyone will congregate in a giant tent. It has an outer frame as opposed to an internal frame, and this is supposed to be a semi-permanent structure, something that like you could set up in a city where there's building codes and stuff and you couldn't necessarily build a real sauna. Well, you can have this one. Stormy Kromer actually partnered with Snow Trekker to get this style made.
Gotcha.
This here is Boss. If you're from the UP, you know Boss. Boss snow plows. What these are the covers to salt spreaders. You know, the big machines, they got the things that swirl and spread the salt everywhere. That's essentially what they are. What Kim's doing is she's grommeting, puts a little metal hole in everything, and you tie a bungee cord through there, and that bungee is used to affix it to the machine that it's on top of. But we've worked with them for a long time, and they're just really good people to work with.
The next thing we're looking at is something that's fun for like kids and families. Is that right?
Yeah, this is the Rainbow Playground equipment line. They make cedar frames with our tarps over the top of them. They make tons and tons of them, and they're sold all over the country, aren't they? Yep. And what Andrea's working on here is a swing tent. It's a tent, almost looks like a teepee. It has a solid plastic base, and then the kids can get in, swing around and stuff. But I would say this is probably the most complicated thing that gets sewn on this line.
Okay.
Right now she's affixing 1-inch webbing, heavy-duty webbing, and that's what's going to support the kid when they're inside. This is our vinyl welder. It has 4 heads. It will take 3 separate pieces of material and join them into one. And that finished project is stronger than if it was just one solid piece. So that's kind of the theory behind why we are cutting a solid piece into 3 and then reattaching it. The widest one we can do is, or the widest one we do currently is 86 inches. The most narrow is 44.5. So there's room to get even wider. We're maxed out on the narrow, but that's okay. Each one of those heads will blow out very hot air. The outside ones are about 650 degrees, and the 2 inside seams are 725 degrees roughly. So, and it's just all hot air. Then it'll go through a wheel, or 2 wheels. It has a lower wheel and an upper wheel. Those wheels provide pressure. The lower one actually embosses Rainbow right onto the tarp while it's still warm. After it passes through that, there's a chiller, cools it down just enough so that you're not going to get any fabric stretching or weird stuff like that. And then after that, it just keeps feeding out. It'll cut off to the size you've programmed, and then you just go until you're out of material.
For you, you don't work specifically on Stormy Kromer products, but you wear it well.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I always wear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what makes you love Stormy Kromer products that you wear it almost every day?
Number one, I've always liked hats. I've been a hat guy, and they're unique. It's like a cool hat, and I like that. That drew me to it initially. I like plaid a lot, and then they started selling hoodies and T-shirts, and I like those too. And so it just kind of snowballed. And now I probably have something on every day.
I was gonna say, would you say your whole wardrobe is basically Stormy Kromer?
I mean, for the most part. I got a couple outside flannels, but they always make fun of me when I wear them. I'm really happy I moved to Ironwood, because I think I'm from Minneapolis originally, and there's so many people there. I don't think I would have gotten the same type of chances or opportunities that I've gotten here. So I'm just thankful that I came here, started here, and then have stuck here.
done a lot of neat projects across the board, and working with different celebrities, like we did monogrammed hats for like Billy Strings and different other projects. But this, by far, just the overall vibe and the genuineness was just amazing.
This is Karen Palmquist, and she's talking about Stormy Kromer's partnership with the Michigan UP Veterans Hockey Club.
We get a lot of inquiries for partnerships in monogramming, which are some of my favorite accounts. But when John French initially reached out and he gave us his story about the club that they were with and wanting to partner with Stormy Kromer to produce an exclusive jacket or some monogram stuff, and I thought it was neat and reached back out, and the second response that I initially received was amazing. Like, he's like, well, I can't believe you'd be willing to work with us and do that, and wanting to come over to the factory to do a tour. And when they came and visited, and getting some of the vibe and the story that they had, and how real the people were in it, the appreciative and genuineness that they had for the project was probably the coolest thing about that. And they're like, well, I just can't believe you guys would work. And I'm like, we're not big scary people, we're real people just like you.
Stormy Kromer made Mackinac coats for the team, but they were extra special for this group.
So we did it in a custom color that we don't offer for sale for our standard product, and we did their logo embroidered on the chest, and then we did the American flag on the shoulder, much like their uniforms. And then we either did their player number, or if it was coach or GM or medical staff, embroidery on the opposite side of that. And then we did a matching black cap for their piece. And just the presence that they have, in the pictures, or when they do their events and they come out on the ice. I mean, it is like, I was like, well, we could do our regular charcoal hat or jacket, but when we did the custom color, it just, the presence that it brought in the life to the project was just, I'm glad we went with that. It was really special, and it really made them stand out, and just the whole vibe that the project had, it was amazing.
Not only did the hockey club receive the custom merchandise, but it was also a gift for these employees to give back to our nation's heroes.
They were so amazed to be able to work with us, and the magic when they came here, they're like, taking the tour, just everything was, wow. It wasn't just like this standard project that okay, here's our logo, and it wasn't in person, like the whole process of it, like it's hard to describe the energy that they had behind it, but it was so genuine, and just wanting and being excited to be a part of it. And so they came down here just to talk about it, the project, and kind of get things underway. And they were just amazed that we would do this and go above and beyond for that. So then presenting that to a production team, I was like, well, yeah, this makes sense. And they asked about different members of our team and being veterans, and so some of the sewers that were sewing the products, either were veterans themselves or wives of veterans, and then also grandparents of youth that were among hockey teams that the Veterans League was then supporting. So the fundraising event aspect of what they do, they aren't just keeping to the club, it's helping go back to, and it's the way that it touched so many people that were either sewing the products, and their project, that it was help funding, their grandson's hockey league. And he was amazed, and on the tour, which was way longer than like a normal standard tour, some of the sewers, like he stopped over at Deb's station, and she had a picture of her grandson's hockey team, and so that immediately sparked a conversation. Well, we helped fundraise this and that event, and our, this member's son is in this hockey club with your grandson as well. So it was way more real, being able to kind of connect those dots, and just that it wasn't just a standard project. And you know, we are very community based, as their club is, and especially that camaraderie that we have here in the UP. It was just so evident in that project with them, and just bringing it to life and working with them was amazing. So when their project was complete, they wanted to come, and he's like, well, we'll pick it up. We don't want you to ship it to us. And so we made sure it was done for their early October game in Colorado. So they came over, and he had the, 2 of his sons that were the stick boys, and so they got to unwrap their hats and try them on. And you know, we were next door, and the sewers that were working on the projects, you could tell how much the project meant to them. And throughout the whole process of them either sewing or adding the embroidery, everybody just wanted to make sure that this project was perfect.
So there you have it. That's the story of the iconic Stormy Kromer company located in Ironwood, Michigan. I'm Rebecca Bartelme, and thank you for watching.
Onto the Golden Book, and do you want us to get the Golden Book and tell the Golden Book story while I'm doing it?
Yeah, sure.
Would you mind going and getting it? Or I can get one in my office.
Well, my only thing is, it's like not actually the hat.
Yeah, but it's about him.
Okay.
You know.
Where is it?
The really good one's in my office, right? It's right as you walk in on there's piles of books right after my printer as you walk in. So we did the deal with me writing the document, this big contract, and it was, he would teach us how to make hats, he would give us the names of the raw material suppliers, he would give us the names of the dealers. We would never make any cap that he makes, so that we're going to go in his factory, but if he's making a different hat, we can't copy it and we won't do that, which was fine with me, and we would pay him a sum of money. And this is before email, so I had to stick it in a fax machine and wait for him to call me, and he said, Bob, this may be the 5th or 6th time he says, I'm going to sign the deal. I'm going to sign this. I'm real comfortable with the road. And I said to him, I just smiled and I said, Dick, I can't believe this, but what a great story to tell my grandchildren that I did this without a lawyer. And he smiled and he says, oh, Bob, I'm sorry, but speaking of your grandchildren, did you know there was a little golden book written about Stormy Kromer? So this little golden book named Mr. Puffer Bill, and a lot of people that are watching had the golden books, and I had about this many on my bookshelf. I don't know where they are now, but this is the little golden book. This particular one, if you turn to page 2, says this is the fictitious story of George Stormy Kromer, who worked for the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. And Mr. Grossman, who I bought this company from, or this hat rights from, owned 4 copies, and in this big trade agreement, I got 2 and he kept 2. So, and that was kind of the start of all the things I didn't realize that came with the package. You know, we've since have found out that, like, there's a 1937 movie with Henry Fonda wearing a hat in the whole movie. It's called Slim, and we've got recordings of him saving the world by climbing a light pole in the middle of a snowstorm in the dark, and his girlfriend looking up like this, and he's got a hat on, and the camera's right here in his face, and Charles Bronson's wearing one in the late 60s, and it's either Death Hunt or Death Wish, and so that all, we're starting to find out that all this stuff came free, all this history came free. Watched this stupid movie called It's a Wonderful Life. And I saw this guy named George Bailey who had this lowly job, what he thought was a lowly job, and then at the end of his life he realized what an influence he had on his community. And that just became like, oh my gosh, would that be awesome to be, not necessarily George Bailey, but to be that person that had an influence on the community. But I know we're having an influence on this community right now, and it's for that reason alone, it just blows my mind that we are, that I ended up getting not to that level, but close to George Bailey and having an influence in the community.